All right, today we are tackling one of the biggest questions imaginable. How does our universe actually work? We're going to dive into the fundamental blueprint of reality itself, from the absolutely massive to the unbelievably tiny. So let's get right into it. Okay, to start, I want you to imagine something. Just for a second, picture yourself standing on a colossal piece of rock, and you're just floating in the middle of this vast, dark, empty space. Now, here's the kicker. That rock isn't just floating there. It is hurtling through that emptiness at over 100,000 kilometers per hour. I know, that sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it's not. That's how fast our planet Earth is moving right now. Yep, that giant speeding rock is home. Welcome to the universe. And today, in just the next few minutes, we're going to break down how this entire incredible system works, from its very first moment to the seriously strange rules that govern it all. So, where do you even begin a story that big? Well, you have to go right back to the beginning. About 13.8 billion years ago, everything, I mean everything we see today, every star, planet, you, me, it was all crammed into a space smaller than an atom. You can really think of our whole cosmic history in three basic steps. First, you have the singularity, that single impossibly hot and dense point. Then you get the bang. And this wasn't an explosion in space, it was the explosion of space itself, expanding at an insane rate, creating all matter and energy as it went. And that brings us to today, a universe so vast it's filled with billions of galaxies. The scale is just mind-boggling. Okay, so after the bang, you've got all this stuff flying everywhere. So what pulls it all together? What makes it clump up into the stars and galaxies we see? That would be our next big topic, gravity. You can think of it as the cosmic glue of the universe. It all starts with a question so simple a kid could ask it, but the answer shapes the entire cosmos. Why do things fall? You know, when you drop your keys, they don't just float off into the air, they fall down. That simple, everyday observation is the key to understanding how whole galaxies are held together. And this is where the power of gravity just gets incredible, because it scales up. On a personal level, it keeps your feet planted on the ground. But that exact same force is what holds the moon in a perfect orbit around the Earth. And it's what keeps all the planets, including us, locked in orbit around the sun. Gravity is literally the architect of our solar system. And the rule behind it all is actually super simple. The more massive an object is, the stronger its gravity. The bigger it is, the stronger its pull. That's why something enormous like our sun has a gravitational field so powerful it can wrangle an entire system of planets. It's this beautiful, elegant principle that works on everything from a falling apple to a swirling galaxy. So, we have the force that sculpts the universe. But what's the universe actually made of? What's the stuff? Well, that brings us to the fundamental building blocks of everything, atoms and the energy that makes them go. At its very core, everything around us is made of these tiny little things. Atoms are basically the universe's ultimate Lego set, made of even smaller bits, protons, neutrons, and electrons. And how you arrange those pieces determines what you build. And when I say everything, I really mean everything. The phone or computer you're looking at, your own body, even the air you're breathing right now, it's all just different combinations of the same basic atomic parts. Just think about that for a second. The universe used the same toolkit to build a star that it used to build you. So what makes all these atoms actually do stuff? Energy. And there's one golden rule you have to remember about energy. It cannot be created or destroyed. It just changes form. The chemical energy in gasoline becomes the kinetic energy that moves a car. The light energy from the sun becomes the chemical energy that lets plants grow. It's this constant cosmic recycling program. And you get the most powerful energy transformations of all right at the very heart of the atom. When you split an atom's nucleus, that's called fission, it releases a tremendous amount of energy. That's how nuclear power plants work. But even more powerful is fusion, smashing atoms together. That's the process that powers our sun and every single star in the sky. Now, out of all the ways that energy can transform, there's one that we humans have harnessed to completely reshape our planet. And that, of course, is electricity. So when you flip a light switch, what's actually happening? In that instant, you're basically opening the floodgates for a river of billions and billions of tiny particles, electrons, to start flowing through the wires. That's all electricity is, a controlled, directed flow of energy.
And it's no exaggeration to say that this simple flow is the lifeblood of our modern world. It powers our phones, our computers, our cities, and the entire global network of information we call the internet. If you took it away, our world would literally grind to a halt.
So far, we've been talking about the big, predictable rules of the universe. Gravity, energy, it all makes sense. But if you zoom way, way down to the level of a single tiny particle, the blueprint completely changes. The rules don't just bend, they get seriously weird. Welcome to the world of quantum physics. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. This isn't some philosophical idea. It's a proven fact from countless experiments. The simple act of observing or measuring something at the quantum level fundamentally changes what it does. It's a discovery so strange, it almost makes you wonder if reality is what we think it is. Okay, so one of the most famous and frankly wildest examples of this is something called superposition. What it means is that before you look at it, a tiny particle doesn't have one specific location. It kind of exists in a cloud of all possible locations at once. It only picks a single spot the very moment we observe it. It's absolutely mind-bending.
So let's just pull this all together into our universal blueprint. It all kicks off with the Big Bang. Then gravity steps in and starts sculpting all that raw material into stars, planets, and galaxies. When you zoom in, you see that all that stuff is built from atoms, and it's all powered by the endless transformation of energy, a flow we've mastered as electricity. And then, underneath it all, governing the very fabric of reality, are the bizarre, counterintuitive rules of the quantum world. When you boil it all down, what this blueprint really shows us is that everything, from the biggest galaxy down to the tiniest subatomic particle, operates on a unified set of rules. It is all connected. It's all just physics. And that really leads to one final thought. We've mapped out the basics of the blueprint. We understand the main chapters. But every single answer we found has only led to bigger, deeper questions. So I'll leave you with this. If this is the blueprint that we know, what amazing undiscovered secrets are still waiting for us in the pages we haven't even figured out how to read yet?